This is Henry David Thoreau. He was born in 1817 in the small town of Concord, Massachusetts. Growing up, he attended the public school in Concord and the private Concord Academy. He had few friends, but after proving to be a better scholar than his popular brother John, he was sent to Harvard. In 1837, when Thoreau graduated, the U.S. was going through a tough time. America was experiencing an economic depression and there were very few jobs. Thoreau had another problem. He didn't want to be a lawyer, priest, or doctor, 3 out of the 4 occupations usually taken by Harvard graduates. He settled for teacher because his older siblings Helen and John were already teachers. He was hired by the Concord Public School but quit 2 weeks later over a disagreement with his superintendent on how to discipline children. In 1838, he started his own school in Concord with his brother John. They became business partners and friends and even went on vacation together during the school's off time. John and Henry's friendship lasted until 1839 when they both fell in love with Ellen Sewell. Both brothers ended up proposing to her, but she rejected them both because her father disagreed with Thoreau's liberal religious views. John became very sick in 1841, and the school was too much for Thoreau to handle on his own, so he had to close it. Thoreau was soon invited to move in as a live-in handyman with his mentor, neighbor, and friend, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Ever since Thoreau's graduation from Harvard, he had become a protege of his famous neighbor and an informal student of Emerson's transcendental ideas. Emerson helped Thoreau pursue his writing career by giving him opportunities to write for the Transcendentalist magazine, The Dial. During his 2 years of living with Emerson, Thoreau became immersed in and involved with the Transcendentalist movement. He even modified Transcendentalism to comply with his own beliefs, giving nature more reality than Emerson did. After his time with Emerson, Thoreau went to work at his father's pencil factory. He grew bored with this tedious and tiring job. In addition, his parents' house was always full of boarders, giving Thoreau little privacy and quiet for writing. Thoreau came up with a plan to get away from people, get closer to nature, and focus on his writing. In 1845, he got permission from Emerson to use land he owned on the shore of Walden Pond. Thoreau built himself a small house there. He had 2 main purposes in moving to the pond. First, to write his first book, A Week on the Concord and Merrimack Rivers, as a tribute to his late brother John. Second, to conduct an economic experiment to see if it were possible to live by working one day and devoting the other 6 to more transcendental concerns. He began writing Walden in 1846 as a lecture responding to the questions of townspeople who were curious about what he was doing out at the pond. Thoreau stayed at the house at Walden Pond from July 1845 to September 1847. Walden condenses the experiences of those 2 years into 1 year. During those 2 years, he also spent 1 night in jail in the summer of 1846 for refusing to pay his poll taxes as an act of protest against slavery and the Mexican War. This experience became the subject of his essay, Resistance to Civil Government, later known as Civil Disobedience. After leaving Walden Pond, Thoreau published A Week on the Concord and Merrimack Rivers in 1849 and Walden in 1854. A Week sold poorly, leading Thoreau to hold off publication of Walden so that he could edit it and make the tone less condescending, the thing that had put readers off in the first book. Walden was a modest success. It brought Thoreau good reviews, satisfactory sales, and a small following of fans. Thoreau was a passionate and outspoken abolitionist. He served as a conductor on the Underground Railroad and helped escaped slaves make their way to Canada. He also wrote strongly worded attacks on the fugitive slave law and on the execution of John Brown. For Thoreau's remaining years, he made a living at the pencil factory and by publishing essays in newspapers and journals. He spent most of his time recording his findings on walks in the Concord woods. In May of 1862, Thoreau died of tuberculosis. He left behind large, unfinished projects, including a comprehensive record of natural phenomena around Concord, extensive notes on American Indians, and many volumes of his daily journals.